welcome back. I wanted to do a sequel to the Stairs in the Woods video, but instead of more stair stories, I decided to go with this series of posts telling a different story, because in a way I feel like they're related. Tell me what you think in the comments. And of course, don't ditch your GPS and map when you venture into the woods. Just had to say it. Now the story. Today, I'm departing from my usual style of uplifting travel posts to discuss a strange and somewhat unsettling experience that I recently had here in Estonia. Most of you know that I live for the thrill of the journey, for capturing the unexplored, and for sharing all that beauty with you. For years, I've been captivated by an enigmatic location rumored to exist deep within the Estonian forests, which name translates to Shadow Creek. Tales of its ethereal beauty, mirror-like water, and an atmosphere of profound serenity have trickled down through the whispers of local legends. But despite its fame and folklore, no one seems to have any photographic evidence or reliable directions to this elusive spot. That all changed 2 weeks ago when an anonymous email popped up in my inbox, providing what claimed to be exact GPS coordinates for Shadow Creek. After cross-referencing various maps and finding a reasonable correlation, I felt a sense of exhilarating certainty. I was going to be the first to document Shadow Creek. Preparation for this journey was like any other, albeit tinged with a sense of higher stakes. My backpack was filled with essentials: camping gear, DSLR camera, my trusty GPS unit, and a set of printed maps. Given the uncertainties, I informed some close friends about my planned route and expected time of return. All seemed as it should be, and I was ready to turn this legendary location into a documented reality. Armed with the coordinates, my initial drive into the depths of the forest was filled with a sense of impending success. The roads were as reliable as any Estonian back road, gravel and potholes, but nothing my trusty Jeep couldn't handle. As I got closer, however, my GPS began to waver, its screen flickering, and its direction arrow spinning wildly. Shrugging it off as a minor glitch, I continued onward, guided by old-fashioned navigation and gut instinct. And here is where things started going awry. Locals I encountered on the fringes of my journey were, to say the least, puzzling. Some claimed ignorance of Shadow Creek, some offered conflicting directions, while a select few warned me with cryptic smiles to stay away. This was unexpected, but not entirely disheartening. I've encountered superstitions and local myths on my travels before. They usually add a delightful layer of mystique to the whole experience. Throughout the journey, an overwhelming sensation of déjà vu kept gripping me. There were moments, especially when I neared clearings or unusual landmarks, where I felt a strong conviction that I'd seen them before. It wasn't just the familiarity one feels in nature, but a deeper, more visceral sensation, as if I had lived these exact moments in some other iteration of reality. I don't want to veer too much into paranormal territory here, so I'll stop here for now. I will come back tomorrow and write the rest. Post number 2. Thank you for the overwhelming response to my previous entry. Many of you expressed concern, intrigue, and a fair share of skepticism. Trust me, if I were on the other side of this screen, I'd be skeptical too, but let me continue the tale of my journey into the bewildering heart of Shadow Creek. As I ventured deeper into the forest, the eeriness intensified. Sometimes, just for split seconds, parts of the forest would blur and pixelate. In one particularly unsettling instance, an entire tree seemed to refresh right before my eyes, its bark suddenly clearer and its leaves brighter. Then there was the phenomenon of the looping trails. One particular trail, marked with a distinctive moss-covered boulder, seemed to play a perplexing game with me. No matter which direction I took at its fork, I would invariably end up back at the same boulder, as if nature itself was playing a cruel trick on me. The forest wasn't my only source of mystery. On my third day, as dusk painted the sky in shades of lavender and gold, I encountered a figure. A man, probably in his mid-40s, named Ian. He had a weary look about him. Ian claimed that he too had been searching for Shadow Creek. His quest, however, began years ago. What was initially a journey spurred by curiosity, much like mine, had turned into an obsession. Despite having never found the creek, he was compelled to keep searching, drawn by an inexplicable force. Ian shared stories of others he'd met in his travels, each having their own bewildering tales, none having successfully reached the creek. Our conversation only deepened the enigma. As night fell, Ian and I camped together, sharing stories, theories, and possible explanations. But as dawn approached, Ian left without a word. It was clear now that I wasn't merely looking for a hidden body of water. This was bigger, deeper. The tales, the warnings from the locals, my peculiar experiences, and Ian's story all pointed towards something that wasn't just geographical, but perhaps metaphysical. I decided to take a leap of faith and trust my instincts over my instruments. For the first time, I ditched the maps and the malfunctioning GPS and let my senses guide me. And that's when things took a turn, from merely bewildering to downright otherworldly. I will post it this afternoon. Post number 3. Your ongoing curiosity has pushed me to narrate the final chapter of this experience with even greater detail than before. After days of disorienting circles and puzzling interactions, I felt it was time to disregard the maps, the GPS, and every conventional means of navigation. It was a last-ditch gamble guided by a blend of desperation and inexplicable assurance. Relying solely on instinct, I decided to venture off the beaten trails and into the raw, untouched veins of the Estonian forest. My surroundings appeared to sense this shift. The paths became less discernible, foliage grew denser, tree roots twisted around like serpents, and the ambient sounds of the forest grew eerily muted. I had almost given up hope when I stumbled into a clearing, the abrupt openness of which felt like a spatial sigh. And there it was, Shadow Creek. The air was different here, still yet vibrating like the buzz you feel but can't hear when standing next to a power line. It was an almost electric feeling tingling through my nerves as I took it all in. The creek was a mirage made tangible. At first glance, its water resembled liquid mercury, both reflective and transparent. The atmosphere around the creek was like a cathedral of natural elements. The trees stood as the pillars, their leaves woven into a ceiling of intricate mosaics of green and gold, backlit by the waning sunlight. But what was truly fascinating was that these stately trees cast no reflections upon the creek. It was as if the water existed in a different plane altogether, accepting no imitations of the earthbound reality. Kneeling by the edge of the creek, I waved my hand over the water. To my astonishment, the reflection in the water showed my hand moving with a delay, only mimicking my motion after a couple of seconds had passed. I tried it again, this time with my entire arm, and the water played the same lagging mirror game. It was like watching a video feed that was slightly out of sync with reality. Finally, I gathered the courage to interact with the creek. As my hand approached the surface, it seemed to grow more transparent, making my heart pound harder. The moment I touched it, or tried to, I felt a tingling jolt. My fingers passed through as if the water was but a projection. The sensation was electrifying, filling me with both awe and an existential dread. As the sun began to set, I felt the forest urging me to leave, like a host signaling the end of a gathering. My journey back was almost automatic, guided by a force I can't explain. When I finally emerged from the forest and made my way back to civilization, a few anomalies were waiting for me. The parking area where I had left my Jeep had a different layout, and when I stopped at a nearby cafe, I noticed a brand logo on a soft drink that was slightly altered. It was the same brand I knew, but the design was just off. All these changes were subtle, yet undeniable, making me wonder if I truly had returned to the exact world I had left. I find it my duty to share this story. Yet, how can words encapsulate what I've experienced? They can't, not fully. But if you too are drawn by an unexplainable force toward the enigmatic, know that Shadow Creek may just be waiting to reveal itself to you. Post number 4. A few updates since my last post. Upon returning home, I continued to find minor discrepancies in my surroundings. Items I owned had changed in small ways. Friends and family have remarked on trivial changes in my behavior, as if I've come back slightly altered from the person they knew. I've also attempted to share my photographs of Shadow Creek with you, but every time I upload them, they appear distorted or entirely blacked out. My camera, which has never failed me before, now occasionally glitches, especially when trying to review the photos from that day. Many of you have reached out, sharing your own experiences of mysterious places and altered realities. It's comforting to know I'm not alone, that there are others who have brushed against the edges of our world and glimpsed something beyond. And for those considering a journey to find Shadow Creek for themselves, I offer a word of caution. Tread with care and remember that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. This will be my final post on the topic of Shadow Creek. It's time for me to find new adventures, perhaps in search of clarity, or perhaps to further embrace the enigma. In the heart of the Estonian woods, they say, lies a place where dreams and secrets sway. Beneath the canopy, a hidden gem, a realm where truth and illusion blend. The waters shimmer like liquid glass. In Shadow Creek, time's moments pass. So if you venture to that sacred place, embrace the mystery, feel its embrace. In Shadow Creek, let your spirit roam, for in its depths, a world unknown.